The command center shook as explosions echoed through the palace. On the screens, Hana watched the Kreth overwhelm the third defensive line. The creatures moved like a tide of darkness, their biomechanical bodies shrugging off most attacks. All units fall back to the inner palace, Admiral June ordered. Defend the royal family at all costs. Hana stood at the tactical display, coordinating the retreat. Her fingers moved across the controls, redirecting forces, closing blast doors, trying to buy time. Beside her, Day studied the enemy patterns with focused intensity. They are adapting faster than we expected, he said quietly. Can we hold them? For a while. But not forever. He looked at her. The coalition reinforcements are still 6 hours away. 6 hours. They had to survive 6 hours. A communication came through from the main defense forces. Command Center, this is Captain Ryung. We are being overrun at the eastern corridor. Requesting immediate support. Negative, Hana replied, her voice steady despite the fear twisting in her chest. All forces are committed. You must hold your position. We cannot hold much longer. The channel went silent, replaced by the sounds of combat and screaming. Day unwrapped his sword. I need to go. Where? Wherever I am needed most. He secured his blade and moved toward the door. Wait. Hana caught his arm. She did not know what she wanted to say. Thank you. Be careful. Come back alive? All of it seemed inadequate, he understood. I will return. Then he was gone, running toward the sound of battle. The next 3 hours were the longest of Hana's life. She coordinated defenses from the command center, watching her people die on screens, hearing their final messages, making impossible decisions about who to save and who to abandon. Mirai's voice cut through the chaos. Command, this is 7th Fleet Actual. We have cleared orbital space. Beginning ground support runs. Acknowledged, 7th Fleet. Focus fire on the eastern and southern approaches. The palace shook as Mirai's ships strafed the Kreth forces outside. It helped, but the creatures inside the palace were beyond the reach of orbital fire. Reports came in fragments. Dai was everywhere, moving through the palace like a ghost, appearing wherever the defense was weakest. Hana heard stories from survivors. The human with the dark blade who cut through Kreth like they were nothing. The silent warrior who taught Veltharian soldiers to fight and die with honor. But even Day could not be everywhere at once. Command Center, this is Lieutenant Huan. Kreth forces have breached the inner sanctum. They are heading for your position. Hana looked at the remaining guards in the command center. 5 warriors, all exhausted, all wounded. Against them came dozens of Kreth creatures, maybe more. Seal the command center, Emperor Taman ordered. He stood beside her, his armor cracked and stained with blood. We make our stand here. Admiral June stepped forward. Majesty, you should evacuate. I will hold them here. No one evacuates, the Emperor said firmly. If Velthara falls, it falls with its Emperor present. The blast doors sealed. On the screens, Hana watched the Kreth approach. They moved with terrible purpose, their biomechanical bodies twitching and adapting. They knew where the command center was. They knew who was inside. The doors would not hold long. Hana drew her crystal blade. It felt strange in her hand. She had trained with it as all royal children did, but she had never used it in real combat. Around her, the guards took positions, weapons ready. The Emperor stood at the center of the room, broadcasting on all channels. This is Emperor Taman. To all Veltharian forces, to all coalition allies, if we fall today, know that we fought with honor. We did not yield. We did not surrender. Velthara stands now and forever. The blast doors began to buckle. Then Hana heard something else. Footsteps in the corridor outside, running fast. Contact at the door, a guard reported. Single humanoid signature. The door exploded inward. Not from Kreth weapons, but from someone cutting through it. Metal fell away in perfectly sliced sections. Day stepped through the opening, his sword dark with Kreth blood. Behind him, the corridor was filled with Kreth bodies. You cut through to us, Hana said in disbelief. Yes. Day moved to her side. The Kreth are converging on this position. We have perhaps 3 minutes before they breach. Then we have 3 minutes to fight, the Emperor said. Or 3 minutes to run, Day countered. There is a secondary command post in the lower palace. If we move now, we can redirect from there. We do not run, the Emperor said firmly. Day looked at Hana. She saw the calculation in his eyes, the tactical mind weighing options. Then she saw something else. Respect. Trust. Your father is right, Day said quietly to her. Running would break the spirit of your people. They need to see their emperor standing firm. But we cannot win here, Hana replied. No, but we can hold long enough. He turned to face the breached doorway. I will buy you time. When the coalition reinforcements arrive, counterattack through the eastern approach. The Kreth have overextended there. You cannot hold them alone, Hana protested. I am not alone. Day gestured to the guards. These warriors have learned well. Together we can hold this corridor. The Emperor studied Day for a long moment. You are not what I expected, human. Neither are you, Majesty. Day bowed, a brief gesture of respect. It has been an honor to serve alongside your people. Then the Kreth came. They poured through the doorway like a flood of nightmares, all claws and teeth and biomechanical fury. Day met them in the corridor, his sword becoming a blur of motion. He fought like nothing Hana had ever seen, every movement precise, every strike deadly. The Kreth fell before him, their blood painting the walls. But there were too many. Hana made a decision. Father, coordinate the defenses. Keep the command center secure. What are you doing? The Emperor demanded. My duty. Hana drew her crystal blade and ran toward the doorway. Hana, no! She ignored him. She reached Day's side just as a Kreth creature broke through his defense. Her blade flashed, severing its limb. The creature fell, and Day spun to face the next threat. You should not be here, he said, not looking at her, his eyes tracking enemies. Neither should you. Hana settled into a fighting stance. But here we are. Together they held the corridor. Hana's strength and Dai's precision combined into something neither could achieve alone. When Kreth came from the left, she drove them back with powerful strikes. When they came from the right, Day's blade found their weak points. They moved without speaking, each anticipating the other's actions, covering each other's blind spots. It was like a dance they had practiced for years, though they had never trained together before this moment. The guards joined them, forming a defensive line across the corridor. The Kreth kept coming, but they could not break through. Bodies piled up, creating obstacles that slowed the swarm. Mirai's voice came through the communication network. Command Center, coalition reinforcements have arrived. Beginning full assault. Hold positions, Emperor Taman ordered from inside the command center. Do not break formation. The battle turned. Coalition ships poured fire into the Kreth positions. Ground forces, fresh and equipped with the new tactics, pushed the creatures back. The swarm intelligence, already confused by the unpredictable fighting styles, began to fracture. In the corridor, Hana and Day fought on, holding the line until the last Kreth fell. When it was over, they stood surrounded by bodies, both of them wounded, both of them alive. Day cleaned his blade slowly, methodically. His hands were steady, but Hana could see the exhaustion in his eyes. You came back, she said. I promised I would. You could have died. So could you. He wrapped his sword again, securing it. Why did you join me in the corridor? Hana thought about her answer. 6 months ago, she would have said duty or honor or family obligation, but that was not the truth anymore. Because we are stronger together, she said simply. Behind them, the Emperor emerged from the command center. His face was solemn, but there was new respect in his eyes as he looked at Day. You saved us, human. You and your methods. I owe you an apology. You owe me nothing, Majesty. I did what needed to be done, as did my daughter. The Emperor looked at Hana. You chose to fight beside your husband. That was not expected of you. It was necessary, Hana replied. The Emperor nodded slowly. The coalition will want to discuss these new tactics. Earth will finally be seen as more than a minor power. That was never our goal, Day said. We simply wanted to survive, to have a place in the galaxy. You have earned more than a place. The Emperor clasped Day's shoulder, a gesture of respect among equals. You have earned our friendship. The recovery took weeks. The Kreth were driven from Velthara Prime, their swarm intelligence shattered by the combination of Veltharian strength and human tactics. The Coalition formally requested Earth to share its military training methods across all member species. Day and 6 other human operatives became instructors at the newly founded Joint Combat Academy. The first students were Veltharian volunteers, warriors who had fought in the palace and seen the effectiveness of the new methods. Hana attended the first class. She stood in the training room, watching Day teach a group of young warriors how to move, how to think independently, how to fight with blades and cunning. When the lesson ended, Day found her waiting, You came to watch, he said. I came to learn. Hana drew her crystal blade. You said we are stronger together. Prove it. Teach me your methods. The command center was chaos. Screens showed dozens of ships breaking through the orbital defense grid. Their designs unlike anything in Coalition databases. Dark vessels, organic in appearance, moving with disturbing coordination. The Kreth swarm, Admiral June announced grimly. Readings confirm biomechanical signatures. They broke through the containment zone 2 hours ago. Hana's father, Emperor Taman, stood at the central display, his crystalline skin flickering with stress patterns. Around him, military commanders shouted orders and status reports. How many? The Emperor demanded. At least 300 ships in the first wave. More coming through the breach. Admiral June manipulated the display, showing red markers spreading across the system. Their trajectory puts them at Velthera Prime in 18 hours. Recall all fleets. Already done, Majesty. The 7th Fleet will arrive in 12 hours. The others are further out. Miri stood near her father, already in combat armor. The Kreth were supposed to be contained. What happened to Coalition intelligence? It failed, a new voice said. Everyone turned. Day had entered the command center, still carrying his wrapped sword. Guards moved to stop him, but Hana raised a hand. Let him speak. Day approached the central display, studying the enemy formations. The Kreth evolve rapidly. They adapt to threats. Your containment strategy relied on energy weapons and telepathic coordination. They have had 50 years to develop countermeasures. And you know this how? Admiral June challenged. Earth has been studying the Kreth since we joined the Coalition. We identified them as the primary threat to galactic stability. Day pointed to the screen. Look at their formation. They are using swarm tactics specifically designed to overwhelm telepathic networks. Your commanders will struggle to coordinate against them. Emperor Taman studied Day with new eyes. You are not just a cultural liaison. No, Majesty. I am not. Then what are you? Someone who might be able to help you survive the next 2 days. The room fell silent. Finally, the Emperor nodded. Speak. Over the next hour, Day explained. Earth had prepared for this possibility. While the Kreth were contained, human analysts had studied every recorded encounter, every tactical pattern, every biological adaptation. They had developed counter-strategies based on one key insight. The Kreth swarm relied on collective intelligence, but individual units were vulnerable to unpredictable, non-standard attacks. Your warriors are powerful, Day said, but predictable. You fight in formation, use telepathy to coordinate, rely on energy weapons. The Kreth have adapted to all of that. They will tear through your defenses. Then what do you suggest? Mirai demanded angrily. Teach your warriors to fight like humans. No telepathy. No formation tactics. Close combat, individual initiative, adaptive strategy. Day looked at Emperor Taman. It will feel wrong to your people. Chaotic, undisciplined. But it will confuse the Kreth long enough to make a difference. Admiral June shook his head. This is madness. You want us to abandon centuries of military doctrine based on the theories of one human? Not one human, Day corrected. He pulled out a communication device and activated it. I am not alone. The screen split into 6 sections, showing 6 different humans in various locations across the Coalition. Some were in military installations, others in diplomatic posts, all looking remarkably similar to Day. Calm, controlled, ready. Earth has operatives embedded throughout Coalition space, Day explained, all trained in asymmetric warfare, all prepared for this moment. Emperor Taman stared at the screen, then at Day. You have been planning this for years. We have been preparing for the possibility. Yes, Day met the Emperor's gaze steadily. Earth understood that we would never match your technology or biological advantages. So we specialized in what we do best. Strategy, adaptation, and the willingness to fight in ways others will not. The silence stretched. Finally, Mirai spoke. I do not trust this. But we are out of options. She looked at her father. Father, the Kreth will reach us regardless. If there is even a chance these methods work, we must try. Emperor Taman looked at Hana. Daughter, he is your husband. What do you counsel? Hana thought about the past 6 months. The silent man who had endured mockery without complaint. The warrior who had defeated Tavik with a blade. The patient observer who had studied them all while they dismissed him as irrelevant. I trust him, she said simply. The Emperor nodded. Very well. Day of Earth. You will coordinate with our military commanders. Teach them your methods. If this fails, however, you will answer for it with your life. Understood, Majesty. What followed was the strangest 12 hours of Hana's life. Day and the other human operatives worked with Veltharian military units, teaching them tactics that seemed to violate everything they knew about combat. Stop thinking as a unit, Day told a group of elite warriors. Think as individuals. Make decisions based on what you see, not what you are told. The Kreth swarm intelligence will anticipate coordinated attacks, to the unexpected. He taught them close combat techniques, how to move with economy, how to use the enemy's strength against them, how to strike at weak points rather than relying on overwhelming force. Your energy weapons are powerful, he explained to another group, but the Kreth have adapted bioshields. Blades go through bioshields. Blades do not run out of power. Blades are silent and do not reveal your position. The Veltharian warriors were skeptical, but they were also desperate. The Kreth were coming, and traditional methods had failed before. Mirai worked alongside Day, learning his techniques with fierce concentration. Despite her earlier contempt, she recognized skill when she saw it. By the 8th hour, she was teaching other warriors what she had learned, translating Dai's methods into Veltharian military concepts. Hana coordinated logistics, ensuring every unit had access to the training. She also studied the Kreth attack patterns, looking for weaknesses. Here, she told Day, pointing to the display. They always leave this section exposed during formation shifts. If we could time a strike correctly, yes, Day agreed, studying the pattern. We could disrupt their coordination. Good eye. It was the first time they had worked together as partners. Hana felt something shift between them, a connection that had nothing to do with marriage vows or political arrangements. The 7th Fleet arrived with 4 hours to spare. Mirai took command, implementing the new tactics across all ships. Traditional Veltharian formations were abandoned in favor of smaller, more flexible units. Day armed himself with his sword and joined the palace defense force. Hana insisted on staying as well, coordinating from the command center. You should evacuate, Day told her. This is my home, Hana replied. My people. I stay, he nodded, respecting her choice. Then I stay beside you. The Kreth arrived like a plague. Their ships descended on Velthara Prime in waves, disgorging thousands of biomechanical horrors. The creatures were nightmares given form, part insect, part machine, moving with terrible purpose. The battle for Velthara Prime began. The orbital defense went better than expected. Mirai's ships, using the unpredictable human tactics, managed to destroy nearly a third of the Kreth fleet before they reached the surface. But hundreds of creatures still made landfall, converging on the major cities. The palace became a fortress. Automated defenses activated, shields powered up. Veltharian warriors took defensive positions, blades in hand alongside their energy weapons, ready to implement the strange human tactics they had just learned. Hana watched the screens as Kreth creatures breached the outer walls. The defense forces met them with coordinated energy fire, driving them back. But the Kreth adapted quickly, their bioshields strengthening. Switch to close combat. Day's voice came over the communication network. Now. The Veltharian warriors dropped their energy weapons and drew blades. They charged the Kreth in small groups, each warrior making independent decisions, striking from unexpected angles. The Kreth swarm intelligence faltered. It had expected coordinated attacks, predictable patterns. This chaos, this unpredictability, confused their collective consciousness. The Veltharians began to win, but the victory was costly. The Kreth kept coming, wave after wave. The inner defenses fell. Kreth creatures poured into the palace corridors. Lord Tavik charged. He was fast, incredibly fast, his plasma gauntlets leaving trails of blue fire in the air. His fist came at Day's head with enough force to shatter bone and burn flesh. Day was not there. He moved like water, flowing to the side, his feet barely seeming to touch the ground. The plasma gauntlet passed through empty space. Tavik stumbled, surprised, and threw another punch. Then another. Each one should have connected. Each one would have ended the fight. None of them touched Day. The crowd's jeering turned to confused silence. This was not what they had expected. The human was not running, not cowering. He was dancing around Tavik's attacks with movements so smooth they seemed effortless. But he was not attacking back. His sword remained low, unused. He simply evaded, stepping and turning, always just beyond reach. Tavik roared in frustration. He launched a combination attack, both fists working together trying to corner the human. His plasma gauntlets created a wall of deadly energy. Day ducked under one fist, pivoted around the other, and for the first time, his sword moved. It was a single cut, so fast that most of the crowd missed it. The blade traced a silver line through the air, touched Tavik's right gauntlet for a fraction of a second, and returned to its low position. Nothing seemed to happen. Then Tavik's right gauntlet sparked, flickered, and fell apart. The pieces clattered to the arena floor. The power cell had been cut cleanly in half. The crowd gasped. Tavik stared at his hand in disbelief. He looked at Day with new eyes, no longer seeing a weak human, but something else entirely. Something dangerous, you think that was luck? Tavik snarled. He charged again, more carefully this time, using his remaining gauntlet defensively while trying to close the distance. Day moved again. This time his pattern changed. He stepped inside Tavik's guard impossibly close, and the sword blurred. One strike, two, three, so fast they sounded like a single note of steel singing. Tavik's left gauntlet fell away in pieces. Then Day's foot swept behind Tavik's knee. It was a small movement, barely visible, but combined with a palm strike to the chest, it sent the massive Veltharian crashing to the ground. Tavik lay on his back, gasping, both gauntlets destroyed, looking up at the human who stood over him with a dark blade. Day held the sword point toward Tavik's throat. Not touching, but close enough. The message was clear. The fight was over. Tavik had lost. The arena was absolutely silent. Then Day stepped back, lowered his sword, and bowed. It was a respectful bow, acknowledging a worthy opponent. He turned and walked back toward the royal box, his breathing barely elevated, his movements still calm and controlled. Behind him, Tavik lay on the ground, too shocked to move. The crowd erupted. Some shouted in amazement, others in anger. No one had expected this. A human, defeating a Veltharian warlord in single combat without taking a single hit. It was impossible. It should not have happened, but it had. Hana sat frozen in her seat, staring at her husband as he climbed the steps to the royal box. He cleaned his blade with a cloth, wrapped it again in its covering, and sat down beside her as if nothing unusual had happened. "You are a warrior," she whispered. "Yes," Day replied simply. "You have been trained." "Seriously trained?" "Yes, why did you not tell anyone?" Day looked at her, and for the first time, she saw something in his eyes beyond calm observation. There was humor there, and perhaps a bit of sadness. "Would you have believed me?" he asked. "Would anyone?" She had no answer. The festival continued, but no one paid attention to the remaining demonstrations. Everyone was talking about the human. Guards whispered to each other. Nobles argued. Her sister Mirai stared at Day with a mixture of respect and suspicion. That evening, Hana went to Day's room. She did not knock, simply opened the door and entered. He was sitting on the floor, the sword laid out in front of him beside a maintenance kit. "Explain," she said. Day looked up at her. "What would you like to know?" "Everything. Start with the truth. Who are you really?" He gestured for her to sit. After a moment's hesitation, she did, settling onto the floor across from him. "My title of cultural liaison is not entirely false," he began. "I do serve in that capacity, but my primary training is military. On Earth, I was part of a special program." "What kind of program?" "One designed to prepare humans for integration into galactic society." He picked up the sword, holding it carefully. "When Earth first made contact with the Coalition, we realized something quickly. Your species, the Veltharians, and most others had advanced technology. Energy weapons, telepathy, enhanced biology. We had none of those advantages." "So you developed swords?" Hana asked skeptically. "No, we already had swords. We had been fighting with blades for thousands of years. While your people evolved telepathy, we evolved strategy. While others developed energy weapons, we perfected the art of close combat. What we lacked in natural advantages, we made up for in skill, discipline, and patience." He set the sword down again, his fingers tracing the worn handle. Earth's military command made a decision. Let the galaxy underestimate us. Let them think we are weak, soft, primitive. Meanwhile, we would study them, learn their weaknesses, and prepare for the moment when our true capabilities would matter. "You volunteered for this marriage knowing you would be mocked," Hana said, understanding dawning. "You endured 6 months of insults and contempt deliberately." "Yes." "Why?" "To learn to understand your people, your culture, your military capabilities, to be present in the royal palace with access to strategic information, while everyone assumed I was harmless. He met her eyes. And to protect you if necessary. Protect me? Hana felt anger rising. From what? From whatever might come. The galaxy is not as peaceful as the Coalition pretends. There are threats. Some known, some unknown. Earth wanted an asset in place, someone who could act if needed. So I was part of your mission. Our marriage was just a cover. Day was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was softer. At first, yes. I accepted this assignment as a soldier accepts orders. But these 6 months, Hana, I have watched you. I have seen how you carry the weight of duty, how you endure disappointment without complaint, how you try to honor your family even when it brings you pain. You are stronger than any warrior I have known, in ways that have nothing to do with physical power. He paused, choosing his words carefully. I remained silent not just for my mission, but because I did not know how to bridge the gap between us. You saw me as a burden, a political necessity. How could I tell you the truth? You would have thought I was lying or boasting or trying to manipulate you. Hana sat back, processing his words. Her emotions were a storm she could not name. Anger at the deception, respect for his skill, confusion about what this meant for their future. What happens now? She asked. That depends on you, Day replied. The truth is out. Earth's strategy of misdirection is compromised. But perhaps that is for the best. Perhaps it is time for honesty between our peoples, starting with honesty between us. Before Hana could respond, alarms began to wail throughout the palace. Emergency lights flashed red. Her communication device chirped urgently. She answered it. Her father's voice came through, tense and commanding. All royal family members to the command center, immediately. We are under attack. 6 months passed like a slow winter. Hana learned to live with the weight of disappointment and the constant whispers that followed her through the palace halls. Her marriage had become a joke among the nobility, a cautionary tale about the dangers of political compromise. Day continued his quiet existence. Every morning before dawn, he practiced his strange movements in the garden. Every afternoon, he spent hours in the library. Every evening, he returned to their shared quarters, ate a simple meal, and retired to his room. He spoke perhaps 10 words a day to her, usually polite greetings or simple acknowledgments. Hana told herself she preferred it this way. A silent husband was better than an annoying one. At least he did not embarrass her with ignorant questions or clumsy attempts at conversation. He kept to himself, made no demands, and stayed out of her way. But sometimes, late at night, she heard him moving in his room. Quiet footsteps, the soft sound of breathing, long periods of absolute stillness. She wondered what he did in there, alone in the dark. The palace staff treated Day with polite indifference. They brought him his meals, cleaned his rooms, and otherwise pretended he did not exist. To them, he was simply part of the furniture, a strange human decoration in the diplomatic wing. Only the head gardener, an old Veltharian named Quan, seemed to pay attention to him. Hana sometimes saw them together in the early mornings, Quan pointing at various plants while Dai listened and nodded. They never spoke long, but there was an odd respect between them. That human of yours, Quan told her one day, he understands growing things. He knows patience. Hana did not know what to make of that. Her duties as princess consumed most of her days. The Veltharian Empire faced increasing pressure from rival powers. Trade negotiations were failing. Border disputes threatened to become wars. The High Council met almost daily, and as third in line to the throne, Hana was expected to attend and contribute. Her sister Mirai commanded the 7th Fleet and spent most of her time in space, hunting pirates and protecting trade routes. But she visited the palace regularly, and she never missed an opportunity to comment on Hana's marriage. Still keeping your pet human? Mirai asked one afternoon, finding Hana in the strategy room reviewing fleet positions. His name is Day, Hana said tiredly. Does it matter? He does nothing. He says nothing. I have met training dummies with more personality. Mirai laughed, but there was an edge to it. You should have refused the marriage. Father would have found another way. Father needed this alliance, Hana replied. We all have our duties. Duty should not make you miserable. Was she miserable? Hana considered the question. She was not happy, certainly, but misery seemed too strong a word. She felt empty, hollow, like a crystal bowl that had been drained of water. The marriage was simply there, a fact of her life, neither good nor bad. The Blood Moon Festival approached. It was one of the most important celebrations in Veltharian culture, a time when nobles demonstrated their martial skills and honored their warrior ancestors. Attendance was mandatory for all members of the royal family and their spouses. "Will your human participate?" Mirai asked with a wicked smile. "He will attend," Hana said carefully. "I meant in the arena. You know the customs. All royal consorts must demonstrate their combat abilities." Hana's blood went cold. She had forgotten, or perhaps she had deliberately avoided thinking about it. Veltharian combat demonstrations were not gentle affairs. Even practice bouts could result in broken bones and serious injuries. Day was human, fragile. A single blow from a Veltharian warrior could kill him. Perhaps an exception could be made, Hana suggested. "Exceptions make the throne look weak," Mirai countered. "Besides, I am curious to see what your silent husband can do. Will he run? Will he beg for mercy? Or will he surprise us?" That evening, Hana tried to warn Day. She found him in the garden, sitting on a stone bench, the wrapped bundle beside him. The twin moons of Velthara Prime cast double shadows across the courtyard. "There is a festival in 3 weeks," she began. "The Blood Moon Festival." "I know," Day said. "I have been reading about it. You may be called to demonstrate combat skills." "I know." His calmness frustrated her. Did he not understand the danger? "You could be hurt," she said more forcefully. "Veltharians are strong. Our bones are denser, our muscles more powerful. Even our reflexes are faster than yours." "I know," Day repeated. "Then you understand you should not fight." For the first time in months, Day looked directly at her. His dark eyes caught the moonlight. "I understand the risks," he said quietly, "but if I am called, I will answer. To refuse would bring shame to you and your family. Better shame than your death, is it?" He tilted his head slightly, studying her. "You have lived with shame for 6 months because of me. Would you prefer 6 more months of it? 6 years? Or would you prefer 1 moment of truth?" Hana had no answer for that. The festival arrived too quickly. The grand arena filled with thousands of spectators, all eager to see blood and skill. The first demonstrations were impressive. Young nobles fought with energy weapons and crystal blades, showing off techniques passed down through generations. Then Mirai entered the arena. She fought 3 opponents simultaneously, moving like liquid lightning, her strikes precise and devastating. Within minutes, all 3 lay defeated. The crowd roared its approval. Hana sat in the royal box, trying to appear calm. Day sat beside her, watching the fights with quiet attention. The wrapped bundle rested across his knees. Then Lord Tavik rose from his seat. He was drunk again, his face flushed with crystal wine and excitement. "I have a challenge," he shouted. The arena fell silent. "I wish to demonstrate against the human. Against Princess Hana's husband." The crowd murmured with interest and amusement. This would be entertaining. A human against a Veltharian warlord? It would be over in seconds. Hana felt sick. She turned to Day. "You do not have to accept. This is not proper protocol. He is drunk and insulting." "He is also a lord and a war hero," Day replied. "To refuse his challenge would insult him further. You will die." "Perhaps." Day stood, the wrapped bundle in his hands. For the first time since she had met him, she saw him smile. It was a small smile, barely there, but it changed his entire face. Or perhaps not. He walked down to the arena floor, his steps measured and calm. The crowd grew louder, laughing and jeering. Lord Tavik waited in the center of the arena, his plasma gauntlets glowing with deadly energy. Day stopped 10 paces away. Slowly, deliberately, he began unwrapping the bundle. The cloth fell away to reveal a sword. Not an energy weapon or a crystal blade, but an ancient human sword. The metal dark with age and use. The blade was slightly curved, a single edge that caught the arena lights and held them. The laughter died. The crowd grew quiet. Everyone knew what swords were, of course. Primitive weapons. Museum pieces. No one actually fought with them anymore. But the way Day held it, the way he stood, spoke of something else entirely. Lord Tavik laughed again, but it sounded forced. "A knife? You bring a knife to challenge me?" Day said nothing. He simply settled into a stance, the sword held low and to his right, his left hand extended forward. The fight began. The Grand Hall of Nexus Prime Station gleamed with lights from 1,000 worlds. Hana stood near the viewing window, her crystalline skin catching the starlight and reflecting it in patterns of blue and silver. She was beautiful by any measure, tall and elegant with the natural grace that came from centuries of Veltharian royal breeding. Her people were telepaths and warriors, respected and feared across 12 star systems. Today, she was about to meet her husband. The thought made her jaw tighten, not that anyone could see it. She kept her face calm, her posture perfect. A princess did not show disappointment, even when her life was being traded away for political gain. The Galactic Coalition wanted peace. The Veltharian Empire wanted trade routes. Earth, the newest member of the coalition, wanted acceptance. And she was the price for all of it. He approaches, her aide whispered. Hana turned from the window. Across the polished floor, a group of human diplomats walked toward her. They were small compared to her people, soft-looking with their strange hair and varied skin tones. In the center of the group walked a man who must be him, Day. He was unremarkable. Average height for a human, which meant he barely reached her shoulder. Dark hair, dark eyes, a face that showed neither excitement nor fear. He wore simple clothes, not the elaborate uniforms the other humans favored. As he got closer, Hana reached out with her mind, trying to sense his thoughts, his emotions. Nothing. Humans were difficult to read, their minds chaotic and strange. She caught only fragments. Calm, observation, patience. Princess Hana, the lead human diplomat said, bowing. May I present Day, cultural liaison and your chosen partner in this union? Day bowed. It was a proper bow, respectful, neither too deep nor too shallow. He had studied their customs. It is an honor, he said. His voice was quiet, steady. The honor is mine, Hana replied, though the words felt like ash in her mouth. The humans talked. They always talked, filling silence with noise. Day said almost nothing. He answered when spoken to, nodded at appropriate moments, but volunteered nothing. Hana studied him as the diplomats discussed ceremony arrangements and treaty details. He did not fidget. He did not seek attention. His eyes moved constantly but subtly, watching everything, missing nothing. Under his arm, he carried a wrapped bundle. Long and narrow. No one mentioned it. The wedding took place 3 days later. It was a spectacle designed to impress, combining Veltharian crystal ceremonies with human traditions that Hana barely understood. She wore armor made of singing crystal. Day wore a dark suit. They spoke vows in both languages. His pronunciation of Veltharian words was perfect, which surprised her. When it was done, they were married. The crowd celebrated. Day remained quiet. Back on Velthara Prime, the royal palace stretched across the capital city like a crown of glass and light. Hana's family greeted them with the cold politeness reserved for necessary evils. Her sister Mireille barely hid her contempt. So this is the human, Mireille said, circling Day like a predator examining prey. She was taller than Hana, broader, covered in the scars of military service. He looks fragile. He is a diplomat, Hana said, though she felt the same doubt. He is a disgrace, Mireille said, loud enough for Day to hear. Our sister married a creature that cannot even touch minds. What use is he? Day said nothing. He bowed to Mireille and walked away, the wrapped bundle still under his arm. The first weeks were cold. They lived in the diplomatic wing, in separate rooms connected by a shared sitting area. Hana attended her duties as princess. She sat in councils, reviewed military reports, and endured the pitying looks of other nobles. Her human husband became a subject of quiet mockery. Day spent his days in the gardens or the library. He read constantly, absorbing information about Veltharian history, culture, and politics. He spoke little, even to Hana. At first, she was grateful. What would they talk about? They had nothing in common. But as days became weeks, his silence began to puzzle her. She had expected him to be overwhelmed, to ask questions, to seek her guidance. Instead, he seemed perfectly comfortable in his isolation. One morning, she woke before dawn to strange sounds from the courtyard below. She went to her window and looked down. Day stood in the garden, moving slowly through a series of positions. His body flowed from one stance to another, controlled and precise. It looked like dance or perhaps exercise. The wrapped bundle lay on the ground beside him. She watched for nearly an hour. He never faltered, never rushed. When he finished, he stood perfectly still for several minutes, breathing slowly before picking up his bundle and walking back inside. The next day, at a state dinner, everything changed. The dining hall was filled with nobles and military officers, all dressed in their finest armor and crystal ornaments. Hana sat at the high table with her family. Day sat beside her, eating quietly. The food did not seem to bother him, though Veltharian cuisine was notoriously spiced. Lord Tavik, a war hero from the Northern Territories, had drunk too much crystal wine. He stood from his table, his voice booming across the hall. "A toast," he shouted, "to Princess Hana, who sacrificed so much for peace." There was uncomfortable laughter. Everyone knew what he meant. "Tell me, human," Tavik continued, walking toward their table. "What did Earth send us? A warrior? A scholar? Or just a soft thing to warm royal beds?" The hall went silent. Hana felt her face burn with shame and anger. This was a direct insult, not just to Day, but to her family's honor. She waited for Day to respond, to defend himself, to show some spark of pride or anger. He did none of those things. Day set down his utensils carefully. He stood, turned to Lord Tavik, and bowed. Then he simply walked out of the hall, the wrapped bundle still under his arm. The hall exploded with whispers and laughter. Hana wanted to disappear. Her sister Mirai shook her head in disgust. But later that night, unable to sleep, Hana thought about the moment again. She had been watching Day's face when Tavik spoke. She had seen his eyes. There had been no fear in them, no shame, no anger, only something cold and calculating, like a predator watching from tall grass. For the first time, Hana wondered if she had completely misjudged her silent husband.